fish in a minute?
I don't know. You know, you would think that they would know that I'm why. I don't know why they
Yeah,
would call me.
you're going on your walks in the morning. Yeah. Who did you walk? Who did you tell the nuclear bombs are coming today till? Because I'll tell you what, John, we have a nuclear bomb today. Rest in peace. This just happened
Yep.
about an hour. Libby Newton John died today at 73
Yep.
years old. And I had her on my wall of fame with Farrah Fawcett as the
Wow.
poster. What a talent she was. I thought she was older than 73, but let's dedicate this show to her.
Yeah, we definitely should. I thought she was younger. I was surprised she was 73. She had had a lot of I know she'd had a lot of cancer problems. Heard a great tribute from John Travolta to her that was very, very, very touching, very sweet. So a lot of people I know are upset. I always remember too, not only being a great talent that she was, especially if you go back and you watch with John Travolta the Grease. I mean, she was fabulous in that. But I always remember the late Don Imus, who used to call her Bolivian neutron bomb. That's how he described her. So,
Hey, you
but
remember this,
anyway, yeah,
John? In LA, during all the malls, she had a great line of clothing called Koala Blue, and she had a lot
yeah,
of tragedy too. She was married to a guy named Patrick something, and he went on a boating accident, never found the
yep,
guy. He was
yep.
out lost at sea. And Travolta's got a lot of tragedy too. It's amazing the symmetry between those two. But if you grew up in the '70s, remember from the '70s with Xanadu and then Grease and all the number. Remember she did that song Physical? Physical. I
Yeah.
can't sing it. By singing, everyone will turn off. But that song got banned, and she
Yeah.
actually did it. I mean, look. She's one of Australia's top performers. They call him of all time. And like
Oh,
I said,
absolutely.
rest in peace. We're losing him. We lost
Yep.
Scully. We lost her. Um,
Yep.
thanks for the memories.
Yep. We'll talk about Vin Scully as well. Hey, one of the things I know that you and I, while we were texting and talking today, we were watching baseball today, but we were watching the Little League World Series, and it's fabulous. It's so much fun because it brings back certainly memories that we had playing Little League baseball. I never got a chance to go to the World Series by any means where I was, but I got to tell you, it was fun watching it. I was actually watching Maine clobber Massachusetts. And then I watched a little bit of Connecticut playing against New York, which I thought was kind of strange because Connecticut's in New England, but they're playing in the New York region. So obviously the kids don't know geography today.
It's great. I love it. I told you, it's baseball. It's my favorite type of baseball. I have customers of mine. This old guy, Steve Schubert, used to come out. You won't see me in the bar the whole month of August, Fish. And I said, why? Because I'm addicted to the Little League World Series. So I thought he was a pedophile, but he wasn't. He was really into no, seriously, he's really into the sport, and it's magical. Jay Crawford. I know you might know him, but he was an ESPN anchor that started actually the first take when it was Cold Pizza.
Yep.
He left, and Chris McKendry would always they would ask to do the Little League World Series. They just love the atmosphere. The kids love it. You find about these kids from other countries, and what they do is they all go out after the games and they play foosball and they play video games and the level of play is not bad for 12-year-olds. Don't you agree, John? You watch baseball more than I do. The level of play is not bad, in my opinion.
I would agree with you. I actually, because I was a pitcher, so I watched the kids throwing. Some of them actually have some really good moving fastballs, and some of them are throwing breaking balls. I don't like that about throwing the breaking balls because I think it affects their arms and hurts them as they get older. But yeah, I thought the talent was pretty good. I thought there was some really good there was some good hitting. The outfield play was still a little goofy because you usually have your good defensive players are going to be in the infield. But yeah, it was riveting stuff. I thought it was really good.
Good. Yeah, playing
Cool.
games. Thinking about playing games, the Raiders lost their second offensive lineman. Brandon Parker's out for the season. I hate the pre. I'm the biggest football fan that John Daly's ever met. I live the sport. Don't know, John. I talk the football every day. We've met for 21 years.
Absolutely.
I love the sport. I'm addicted to the USFL. I hate the preseason. Did not watch Jacksonville against the Raiders. Okay, the Raiders have lost two starters on the offensive line already, and they're one game into it. It's ridiculous. 2020, go virtual. There was no contact, and the play was good. Matthew Stafford has an lingering elbow issue with tendonitis. John, do you think this is a concern for the Rams, are they just you know
They seem to
putting it
really,
out there?
yeah, they seem to be playing it down quite a bit. I I don't know. I think it will be if his elbow's really in bad shape, because he's gonna need some shots. Probably it sounds like. But yeah, I think it could be a turning point for them. On the other hand, he's a pretty tough guy, so he probably will stick it out. The question is, can he still be accurate in having it? What do you think?
John, well, what? Yeah, I don't. He can still be accurate. But John, what's your take? I mean, at one time you're the biggest Giant fan that I know, that I've known, and I know you love the sport again. What's your take on? It's different than any other sport. What's your take on starters or players that are going to be a big value to your team playing in the preseason? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would just use the preseason games to try to figure out, player 40 through 55 that's going to be on your roster. I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to use them, and I think it's ridiculous for fans who would like somebody texted you the other day. How come Derek Carr is not starting in the Hall of Fame game? That was me, but I was mimicking a fan that probably was saying that, and that they want to see that. And I understand you do want to see that, but no, I think you let as many of the players who are trying to make the team out there. But no, you do not want to put your quarterback out there. And if you have a great guard and a great tackle that's protecting your quarterback, you don't want to put him out there as much either. So I think and you hit the nail on the head. When COVID happened and they didn't have much of a preseason, the football wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't. Did they come out of the blocks? It was good, but I would say by the third week, it was very good.
There was all virtual. I remember Derek Carr, and brought him up, and Tom Brady said it was so weird walking in the building. It said test to the left, classroom to the right. There was zero contact in their preseason. The Raiders go out on week 1 and play Carolina and win 33-30, and the game was brilliant. And there was less soft tissue injuries because the guys were working out and workout things. They were in the classroom, and they said there was embedded in them so much doing all the classroom stuff. And watching film that they got it, and there was less injuries. There's a few soft tissue injuries when the season started, but there's going to be this year. All I know is the Raiders have suffered some injuries right now. We got 3 preseason games left. It takes a little juice away from me.
Yeah, I think it does too. But at the same time too, that money goes to the teams because the teams get all the broadcast rights for the exhibition games. So anyway, okay, what else are you watching? You binging anything?
Well, yeah, real quick. The Hall of Fame game had the lowest ratings in years, but it was still watched more than any other baseball game. It's sad than any baseball game other than the Home Run Derby and any National Hockey League game. It's concerning for the other sports that you're watching a Hall of Fame game where Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, the stars of those two teams, Jacksonville and the Raiders, didn't play. I'm going to binge watch first. I just watched a thing on Apple. 6 episodes, limited series called Black Bird. Okay, Taron Egerton. You remember Taron Egerton? I hope I'm pronouncing his first name right. He played Elton John, the Elton John movie, won a Golden Globe, right? He plays Jimmy Keene. Jimmy Keene is notorious gun and drug smuggler in the Boston area, and he gets busted. And they said, if you want to get out of a 10-year sentence, you got to go to the biggest criminally insane prison in Springfield, Illinois, and try and get a confession out of a guy that we know killed 14 young girls. That's all I'm going to say. Absolutely brilliant. I see Emmys down the road.
Wow. Super. Well, I'm going a little bit on the opposite side because my wife, Terry, loves the show. It's called Virgin River, and they're into their 4th season now. I enjoy it. It's kind of a chick flick type of thing. It's a little bit better than I would say the Hallmarks as far as it goes, because it's got some drama and it's got a little bit of violence and some action there and stuff like that. But I'd say it's really good acting. And, their conflict isn't, sometimes it's so superficial, but this one's real. So I think it's pretty good. So I would say Virgin River. All right. What do you got? You got some memes for me? You got some funny stuff for me?
Absolutely. Check this out. We're getting so excited here about football. So let's go with this one. Look at the top, middle, and bottom. For our listeners, it's like ghosts. One says work, stress, finances, and me. And the me has a sour look on his face. The middle one says work, stress, finances, and me. And he looks a little optimistic. And then it says work, fun. And then right in the front, work and stress in the back. The me is hugging another meme. It says football season. He's got a big smile on his face. Right?
Did you create that?
Yeah, I didn't create that. No, I wish I had that kind of. Here's a picture of folks out there of Trevor Lawrence. We just talked about the Jaguars, right? Good-looking guy, Fabio, right? Now, he had a rough first season in the NFL for all our listeners out there on Spotify. Really rough season. It was tough. Talked about how stressful it was. under the old regime of Urban Meyer. Look at him now. This is Trevor Lawrence going into his second season. Wow. He turned into Dog the Bounty Hunter. So you go on Spotify, get on Facebook or YouTube and look at that Trevor Lawrence morphed into. Is that amazing?
Oh, that's good. Love it. All right. Okay. Hey, now it's time for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been schmucky this week, Fish? Who do you got?
You know, one of our alumni of the show, Fior DeRosa, does a thing called Super Seniors, which A&E just picked up. So Michael Shapiro, great with Regulus in Vegas. Fior DeRosa, A&E did a show called Super Seniors. These seniors, as our schmucky, aren't so special. Don't do this if you're John's age or my age or above. And John.
The last one was you.
Someone said, was that guy throwing the baseball, President Biden? It wasn't. Look, none of these people got hurt in this thing. Seriously, that's the one thing. So don't make fun of our seniors. John and I are at that level. John did a show, great show, in 1997 called Real TV. Did you get a clip like that, John, when you ever did a show, something like that you showed?
Oh, we would do kind of shorts, real quick stuff. Usually we would have a video that told a story, but we would do real quick ones of stuff like that, of people, but at the same time too, I know we think that those people are, 20, 30 years older than you and me, but you put a couple of drinks in us and we would look the same way.
I do that now without a drink. I fall on my ass at Chuck's, trip over my own feet. But look, none of those people got hurt, but it is funny. None of those people were hurt seriously. Yeah, we're not making fun of anybody, but we had a little humor, the Daily Fish, because DF means what the fuck. All right. What do we got now, John?
All right, let's see who's got the swag. Who are we toasting this week, Fish? I think I know who it is, and it's a sad one, but at the same time, too, it's
it's got a video first. It's a short video, too. But you know what, John? Let's talk about real-life heroes. These are people that saved animals and saved other people. Very important. You'll love this.
Some of those are tough to watch, but folks, if you get a chance, make sure and you're listening to us on Spotify or the other audio channels, you got to go take a look at YouTube or Facebook and catch
Right.
that, because those are heartwarming moments, especially with not only some of the soccer player story. I think I remember that. I think the guy had a heart attack. And
Do you want? Yeah, I want to bring for our next swag. I want to bring John Hardison in, because we're going to show this guy. I want your opinions first, and I'll finish, because I grew up with this guy. Let's bring Hardline in. Is that cool?
Hardline.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, buddy. Good. Welcome. We want to have you here for. We're going to do our drink of the week, but we got another swag, and who we're going to
look at that guy.
We're going to toast. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, John. We talked about Libby Newton John earlier. Hardline, you saw that icon. I want you guys to sum up what this man meant. Daly's got a bigger history with this. Vin Scully passed away at 94 the other day, and you want to start, Daly, with Hardline first, since he's younger, and let's see what his memories of him, and then we'll go with Daly, then I'll finish. Go on, Hard.
It's extremely sad that he passed, but we're looking at an all-time great. When we talk about those that are great individuals, especially in the industry of sports, those that are announcers, you don't get a lot of those who have the longevity, who have the history that Vin Scully did have. He's called so many big events, so many great things. I know, even though he passed, he at least got to see the Dodgers get back to the mountaintop before he left this earth. Unfortunately, all-time great professional, nothing but great things people have to say, whether we're talking about people or colleagues in his industry, his peers, those that are musicians. We saw Stevie Nicks, his last year, get on stage with him and say, thanks, Vin, for all the great times, Metallica, so on and so forth. And to do it in such a city that's not very forgiving as LA is, it speaks volumes to the type of person and the career that he had. My hearts, my thoughts, and my prayers go out to his family during this tragic time, his loved ones, his children, and everything that he was able to accomplish. He is definitely on that pinnacle of great sportscasters and even more great human beings.
Well put, my friend. I always think back on my buddy Michael Horowitz, who was one of my senior producers at Real TV, and he actually worked with Vin Scully, and there's pictures of them together. And he just said there was nobody on this earth that was as nice as a person, whether he was on air, off air, or whatever. And then on top of everything else, you think of just the memorable things that he said. I remember Koufax was about ready to throw a perfect game, and he starts giving the time, 9:48 in the City of Angels, and right before Koufax actually threw the perfect game. I think it was back in 1965. And then you think back of the different home runs. Think back of the Kirk Gibson home run that he hit in the World Series off Eckersley back in, I believe it was 1989, or was it 88? I can't remember now. But anyway, you just look at it, and there's a part of me that always says, he's 94 years old. Okay, he should be. I'm still sad. I'm still really, really sad that somebody as good as that we've lost. And I would have hoped he would have lived another 6 years. So, for me, who grew up on the East Coast, by the time I was getting to know baseball, he was moved to the West Coast. But he started with Red Barber in the Dodgers back in 1952. And Red Barber wrote about him in his book called 1947, the year all hell broke loose in baseball. Had a lot there about Vin Scully as well, in the years that went on there. But I think it's tough. But I got to think for you, Fish, it's tougher because you were probably 8 to 10 years old, when Vin Scully, when you first heard his voice.
I'm sorry, guys. It's just like you're bringing up stuff. I grew up in LA, Hardline. And I'm 8 years old. And one thing Vin Scully did was he brought families together. I remember listening to transistor radio with my late grandfather and my dad, him calling games for the Dodgers. And it's just, that culture of listening to baseball on radio, because they didn't have the TV, a lot of games were on TV. The storytelling, we all talked about that. I have a story about him. I'll be real quick. First of all, I'll never forget him calling the 1981 championship game between the Cowboys and the 49ers, and CBS offered a major contract, and he said no. They wanted him to go with Brookshire and Madden. That's how good he was. But I was in a Palisades, Pacific Palisades one time at a pharmacy called Bay Pharmacy. And I'm at the counter and I hear this voice in back of me, you know, and it's Scully. And I turn around and I shook his hand and I said, Mr. Scully, I want to thank you for letting me grow up with you. And he looked at me and he goes, wow, I've never heard that. And I said to him, I never knew what a Farmer John hot dog was until I listened to you. That was a big sponsor. So big loss. I mean, we lose people all the time, but you know, when you love sports and you grow up watching and listening, when that person's in your life throughout it. I mean, I'm 62 years old and I had him for 57 years. So I'm sorry, guys, but it's just
that's
it's tough on everyone that's born and raised in LA. Trust me. He was okay. I'll end it at this, Daily. Steve Edwards, a guy that did this Good Morning LA, said he was the heartbeat of Los Angeles. I can't say it any better.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. All right, let's do our drink of the week. And we are going to toast Vin Scully along with all those other people that did some great things that we showed you on that video before. And so what are we drinking here on our drink of the week, Fish?
I don't know if Vin Scully drank Baileys and coffee, but he probably had to because they had to work with Jerry Doggett a lot. And most of the guys he worked with are half drunk probably. Baileys and coffee. It's a great starter in the morning. We got football season coming up. Coming to Schmuck's Tavern. It's a great starter in the morning. Get your mimosas and get your Baileys and coffee. Vinny, thank you for letting me grow up with you.
To Vin Scully, absolutely, and to all those people that help and save lives as well. By the way, folks, if you are drinking coffee and Baileys and you're going to drink it at night, get some decaffeinated because if you don't, you might be up all night. All right, good stuff there. Our drink of the week, the Daily Fish drink of the week, is sponsored by Schmuck's Tavern in Vegas. You have great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to the Schmuck's Tavern on North Durango, that's on the northwest side of town, where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast, you get a free drink. Do it the next day, a free appetizer. That's Schmuck's Tavern. Check out Schmuck's Tavern on Facebook. And folks, in case you are just joining us, we have the Daily Fish Hardlines with John Hardison. John's already been on here with us. He has the podcast, The Cost of Winning, focusing on fantasy sports and sports betting. And Fish, also, since we're going to probably dive into this with Hardline, we should also mention that Schmuck's has a last man standing contest for the NFL season coming up. Give us the details on that because we're all going to be a part of that.
Yeah, to butter this thing up. The last man standing contest at Schmuck's Tavern is probably the best one we have in the Valley because you get 2 losses. And how it works, Dallas plays Tampa Bay in the first week of the season. You take Tampa Bay and they win out there, listeners. You move on to the second week, you can't take Tampa Bay again. Real quick, you can't take. You get a mulligan in this league, Daly and Hardison. You get 2 losses, and if you get a tie, you move on. It doesn't happen in casinos. Most contests, you get 1 loss, and you're done for the season. So the great thing is that not only did Hardline sign up for it Saturday night, but Daily Fish has a pick in the contest. We're going to donate ours to charity. Hardline's going to donate his to his Cosmopolitan Bar Bill. And, and the great thing about it is with Daily and Fish, John, tell them how our listeners and our viewers can get involved as far as our pick.
Actually, the best way to do it is like if you have any questions or comments, you can put it right in our chat box now. But if you're not watching us live, you email us, and this is what we want you to do for the last man standing. If you have a pick for last man standing and we get an overwhelming response, we'll do your pick. So we want you as the audience to do that. And again, the email is dailyfish1, the number 1. So dailyfish1@gmail.com, and let us know so you guys can be a part of it as well. And of course, we'll keep you updated every week. We're really looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun. And Hardline, now that we know you're in it, we're going to see what pick you do, and then we might follow you.
Yeah, follow him.
Especially Fish and me, that's for sure. All right, Hardline, let's hit some college football. Give us your top 10 college football teams preseason. Who do you have?
Oh, man, this is the best time of the year. This is where everybody thinks that they got a chance. And the first 2 weeks, we really see who's been putting in the work over the summer, who's going to flop real quick and fast, man. This is the great part of the year. Starting off from the top, I got to go with Alabama. I mean, they've got the reigning Heisman Trophy winner back in the saddle, and we're going to see how good that they really are. We're going to see if last year was just a fluke. And with Jamison Williams going down that national championship game, are they really going to rise to the occasion? or what's going on with that school. Number 2, I got Georgia. You know, as Fish said before, Stinson Bennett IV, what's such a regal name that he has at quarterback. You know, we're going to see if the mailman can deliver again. Number 3, we've got Notre Dame. And this is a real questionable one. I really like Notre Dame. We're going to see, especially with the first game of the season, where this ends up with the rankings, because the first game of the season, they play a team that's later on in this list as well. So, you know, losing one game doesn't knock you out of the playoffs, but it definitely hinders you. Next, I got University of Michigan. We're going to see, you know, how Jim responds this year. You know, we're going to see if Jim's really, if it was a fluke last year, or if they really here, you know, to tell people to hail to the victors in good old Ann Arbor. 5, I've got Ohio State. 6, I've got Utah. 7, I've got a school that's near and dear to Fish, USC, down in California.
Yep.
8, I got Clemson. 9, I got Oklahoma. And 10, I've got Texas A&M.
Okay, you know what? Texas A&M is my sleeper team. That's who I was going to throw that at you. I didn't realize you had them as number 10. There's some reason I think they're getting underneath Alabama's skin a little bit there. So we'll have to see. Fish, you have a sleeper team?
I love everything. This guy's brilliant. And the one thing that really stood out in Hardline, and even USA Today picked him Hardline, is how great they have Utah picked at number 6. It's huge. It's a Pac-12 team. I like everything the Hardline did. I do. I think Penn State's got an unbelievable defense this year. They're in a tough conference, right? And James Franklin, I love this guy as a coach. He has to get over the hump. But let's go over something, Daly and Hard, that I want to talk about as far as USC. Lincoln Riley took that job, brought over a stud quarterback with him from Oklahoma, Caleb Williams. That actually, what's the kid he beat out that was on all those TV shows? Forgot his name. The black kid with the freckles.
I forgot what his name, but I know you're talking about.
I mean, it was a big, and the guy's great. USC came over, and in 2025, we all know they're going into the Big Ten, right? This is their time. You're right. This is their time to get into the national championship, because the Pac-12 is the weakest I've ever seen it. And I followed this league religiously. Look how bad Washington was last year. Cal and Stanford stink. Arizona State stink.
Oregon.
UCLA, yeah, exactly, John. So I love everything you just said. And I like what he said about Texas A&M. Keep an eye. This is a homer pick. Keep an eye on my Longhorns to win over 9 games this year.
Good possibility. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely a solid pick. The biggest thing about Utah is I like Utah. They have one of the hardest schedules in the Pac-12. With USC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten, there's got to be someone that's taking over the reins in the new Pac-12, as we call it. And I think Utah can cement their legacy as being that team that's in the Pac-12 or whomever, however they're going to realign it moving forward.
Okay, one thing, because you know this, and I didn't. Bryce Young, Alabama, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, supposed to go 1 and 2 in the draft. I see in the notes here, you have Cameron Rising will be a Heisman Trophy candidate this season. You're high on him, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I think that he most definitely put on a show last season in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that was a Rose Bowl that Ohio State was supposed to win by 6.5 points. And, they barely won by 3. They had to come back. I think that Utah is a scary team. I think Utah cemented that, especially when they played the Pac-12 championship game. I think it was against Oregon last year. They're a very well-coached, a very well-disciplined school. I think because it's Utah, sometimes it gets overlooked. But I do think that he'll be a Heisman Trophy candidate this season. I think that he is going to be a solid quarterback this year. And I think that if he can get wins over USC and he can get wins either over Oregon or Stanford, I think that propels him to being in that conversation this year.
Real quick, before John takes over with hosting, Spencer Rattler. Thank you, Bruce Frank. Spencer Rattler's a quarterback that was highly touted at Oklahoma, and Caleb Williams went in there and stole the thunder. And then they both transferred out of Oklahoma. So
yeah, interesting. Hardline, give us your final 4 that are going to go to the championship.
So you know what? As of right now, I'm picking Alabama, Notre Dame. I'm going to say USC, and I'll end it out with Michigan. I think that Notre Dame has a schedule that is particularly good for them. I think that, especially with Marcus Freeman, We're talking about they have a huge Shamrock series out here in Vegas this year where they play BYU, a huge game. They play Ohio State the very first game of the season as well. I think if they run the gambit and they do what they're supposed to do, I think that we'll see them in the college football playoffs this year, especially with everything that they got going on. Alabama, I mean, it's Alabama. I mean, even though we talked about last year wasn't an Alabama year, I mean, look what they were still able to accomplish. They still made the national championship game and delivered a Heisman Trophy winner. USC, that's kind of the interesting one. It all depends on how they fare in the Pac-12 this year. If they can get a win over Stanford, if they can get a win over Utah, and they win the Pac-12 championship game, I think that they have a really good shot. And I mean, we're talking about Lincoln Riley took, as we said before, Caleb Williams. He got Travis Dye from Oregon as well to take up for where the guy that just went to the NFL. I'm blowing my mind. Went London, Drake London, where Drake London just went this year. I think that they have quite a bit of opportunity to make a run at that. And Michigan, look, I think at the end of the day, Michigan's chances of making the college playoffs all come down to Ohio State. And it comes down to them beating Ohio State this year again. And it comes down to if Ohio State loses to Notre Dame, and there's one or two teams that's going to either prevent them from making this national college football playoff. If they lose to Michigan State, which is a team that they've had issues with the last few years, that's going to hurt them. And if they lose to Michigan, that could hurt them as well if Michigan runs the gambit and wins out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. A lot of potentials there. That's for sure. All right. The FedEx Cup starts this week. Got any quick prop bets on that?
You know what? I like Patrick Cantley to be a top 20 finish this go around. And I also really like John Rahm to finish top 20. I know he's been kind of a little bit up and down, but I think that he gets a top 20 finish. I think both of them do in the FedEx Cup.
All right. That's good. And that is a Daily Fish Hardline with John Hardison of the Cost of Winning podcast. Find him here with us, but also on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcast. Hardline, stick around. We need you for some more. We have more controversy ahead. After all, we are Daily Fish, coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We hit issues you are talking about: sports, entertainment, politics, and everything in between. Controversial, but we're informed. No woke, no extreme, no Karens or social justice cops. We let the threes fly and we aim for the third deck. It's going to be a bumpy but fun ride. Hey, folks, don't forget our interview shows that we have coming up in a few weeks. We're going to have ESPN's Linda Cohn, who has just signed a new deal. Even after 30 years of being there, we are waiting on an exact date from her, but we will let you know. We're also lining up a lot of others as well. Now, folks, hey, you got some suggestions? Drop us a line. You can drop it into the chat box here, or if you're watching live, or if you are not watching live, I should say, you can send us an email at dailyfish1@gmail.com. Hey, you need a great golf getaway? The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, bunch of friends. Trust me, I'm playing golf out here. It's hot, but man, the courses are in great shape. You got to come out and plan it for the fall. September and October out here are fabulous. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. All right. Well, we've made some changes here on the show, folks. I'm sure you know that, based on, technically what the audience wants. But Fish, I'm going to ask you, what do you think is not changing out there?
One thing my parents raised me to believe in is have an open mind. And it aggravates me that there's too many agendas out there. I'm going to get both your opinions on this when I do my diatribe here. Okay. The Republicans couldn't give the Democrats one iota or ounce of credit when the Biden administration took down the second in command of Taliban. John, give me his name again, because I stink with names.
Ayman al-Zawahiri.
Yeah, I had that as an ulcer. So, and now they get this bill passed that is going to help with climate change and healthcare for people. Although the Republicans had stuck one in there that insulin's not going to be involved. I'll let John get involved in that. And it was 50 people on the Democratic side of the Senate but the House voted yes and 50 voted no. And then Kamala Harris, the vice president, deciding vote. We're so divided right now that how is anything ever going to get done? And why are we so into what our own agendas are and we can't open our minds? I mean, I have a hard time with this, that if you're helping people. So I'm asking you this, Daly. I'll go to you. is one party very Darwinistic and the other party more for the people, or is the business side of Darwinism going to help the country more than actually helping people? I need to be educated here.
Darwinism, I would say no. I don't know if I'd use that term, because that would include science, and I think unfortunately a large part of the GOP, not all of them, are going anti-science. They're telling kids don't go to college now, and they want to indict Fauci. And to me, you don't understand that science changes all the time. It's an education. It's trying to learn. To me, what I think, and again, I'm not saying the Democrats are right. I'm just saying that there are different sides of the issues there. For me, it's all about money. It's all about money from special interests, and also for individual people making sure that their opinion is the only opinion. And I ask people, have you talked to people about politics? And when you do you ever get anyone who says, tell me about what you think? No, you don't. Everyone is either, and I got this from a great book, it's called Thinking Again. And he mentions in it that everyone is either a prosecutor or a preacher. They're either cross-examining you or they're a pastor telling you what you should do to save yourself. I think what happens is, and I think, you and I do this, the three of us do this, we listen to each other. We might not agree on everything, but we listen to each other. And unfortunately, I just think there's too much money involved, so you're not going to listen to anybody else. You were right about this bill. And again, is this bill a great bill? It's a good bill. It's not bad. But there's some conservative things in there. I mean, Joe Manchin, who's Democrat, he got some stuff in there. He got some pipeline stuff in there for West Virginia, which is not liberal and is not, pro-democratic by any stretch of the imagination. But if you think about it, why this bill is good is because there was give and take in there. I mean, Joe Manchin's a Democrat, but he was acting like a Republican, and he got some things in there that were helping his state. So I just think it's money. I think there's too much money. Citizens United was a Supreme Court ruling that said money is free speech. And that's what's happened. And that's why you have reports that say the majority of members of Congress spend 33% of their time raising money. They're not on the floor. They're not discussing issues. As a result of it, you got people like Tommy Tuberville, who's a senator from Alabama. He doesn't even know what the three branches of government are. I mean, to me, that's kind of scary. Hardline.
Neither do I. Hey, don't make fun of Tuberville, man. That's a great football coach. Tom Osborne, him, go get him, baby. They went into politics.
No, go for it, Hardline. I think John hit it out of the park. I do think it's special interest money. I think that, look, I think you said it, especially 33% of the time you're raising money, you're raising funds, and you're just trying to appease the people in your state to just get reelected, whether or not you believe in what it is and whether you believe it's right or wrong. You're just trying to keep that job as cushy as possible, and you're trying to do it. And look, once you get special interest money, they want you to produce. They want you to produce for what we gave you money for. Whether we talk about movies like Thank You for Smoking, or we talk about, I forgot John Gooden's show that he had on Amazon where he was, a senator that really didn't know what he was doing. I think that just keeps happening over and over again. I think that listening to other people and asking yourself whether I believe what I'm voting for is right or not is the biggest question. And look, I mean, we've talked about this before with the bill that just passed, even the bill in which we talked about veterans that were affected by things such as Agent Orange being able to get the health care that they need, and people saying, we're rejecting that bill as well. I think that there are things that as a country we have to ask ourselves, are we willing to sacrifice the profit for the greater good of man? And I don't think that at this moment in time, the greater good of man is trumping anything that people could turn into in terms of money. I mean, think about the average, and I'll throw this to John, the average cost of what a presidential election is almost $1 billion, John. Yeah. The average price of running for Senate is probably $500 million. You're not going to be able to raise that money just doing grassroots things. As much as you want to, you're going to have a corporation that backs you. And unfortunately, that's where we're getting to is the corporation more valuable than the people? And again, as Citizens United says, pretty much, yeah.
My problem is agendas. Everyone has their own agenda. I have the beauty of knowing, as a bartender, boys, and you've both been in bars, and Hardline's one of my best customers. You don't talk politics and religion, and John's 1,000% right, Daly. People they preach, they bait you into it. Fish, what did you vote for? I don't tell you what I voted for. What do you think about this? There are people I know, there's bartenders that I know that disagree with the January 6th thing about they think that Trump was wrong and they lost customers over it. Not me, but I've talked to other and don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. There are people that they try and bait you in. There are people that are divisive on Brittany Griner and Deshaun Watson, and they don't even know the facts. That's what aggravates the shit out of me. Okay? Don't be into your own agenda. Don't think you're the only fucking person on the planet that affects something. There's other things out there, and learn. Educate yourself. Okay? I'm not educating on a lot of stuff, so I go to Daily about a lot of politics. I go to Hardline for betting, and the Baltimore Orioles are going to make me a very rich man in about 2 weeks. So I don't want to bring that up. My problem is have an open mind, and people don't have open minds. If you disagree with them, they automatically cut you off. I've had people text me on the show. I can't believe we have, for all listeners, real quick, John, you could jump into something else. We had a meme of Donald Trump with the bullhorn saying attack, the megaphone. Yeah. And why'd you put that on there? I go, oh, but you didn't mind when I put Biden on there falling asleep. Same opposite. Why'd you put Biden falling asleep? Stuff like that. And the one thing I can't stand, there's no accountability. Zero. Okay. You brought Fauci earlier. The CDC is asking for a mask mandate, and the Democratic Party said, no, we're in an election year. The parties do the same shit. It's all about money. You guys said it. I'm done. Let's move on.
Okay, good. Hey, you know what I do want to talk about? First, let me do this because I want to talk about Hope for the Warriors really fast. Let people know about it. We want you to check out Hope for the Warriors. They have a big celebrity golf event coming up in 3 weeks. It's August 27th to the 29th. It's going to be in Wallace, North Carolina, near Wilmington. Hope for the Warriors works with our wounded military to get them healthy so they're part of their families and their community again. It is a great charity. This is a great event. Join us if you can. How to find out more about it, just go to hopeforthewarriors.org. Okay, I know we're probably going to say goodbye, and you brought this up, and I know you didn't want to bring this up, but I do want to mention this to Hardline, and I know we bring it up all the time because in about a week it's going to be a dead issue. Your Baltimore Orioles are actually going to win that bet for you. And the Baltimore Orioles are 3 games ahead of my Boston Red Sox, who are in last place. And at the same time, too, they traded Trey Mancini to the Houston Astros. Yeah. Mancini had 3 home runs in the first 2 games. Can you imagine if Mancini was still with the Orioles? So, kudos to you. I know you don't want me to keep bringing this up. I bring it up because it was one of the great prop bets of all time that you stuck with this. And you stuck with it. Why did you stick with it? Because you heard a report that the Orioles have the best or one of the best minor league systems. And that's true. And if you go back to the Houston Astros, I go back to the Houston Astros maybe about 10 years ago. They stunk. They were a AAA team playing in baseball. But you saw guys like Altuve, Bregman coming up, and you're going like, okay, there's some, and they turned into a good team. I think the Orioles could be the same way too. So I salute you, and I think it's great. Hardline, what do you think? Do you think he's good? Here's the other prop bet. Will he do this? Will he get the money before August 20th?
Ooh, that's I'm gonna say because they're gonna make Fish sweat. I'm gonna say no. No, he doesn't get it before the 20th. But you know what? I think Baltimore is a good team. Moving forward, they do have a lot of prospects. The question is, are they going to stick with those prospects, or are they going to start selling them off? And that's where, in terms of baseball, you got to ask yourself, there's a lot of teams that have a lot of players on them, and then they start having a fire sale, and then we got to figure out what's going on with them next. I think because they play in such a dominant division, it's going to be very hard for them to rise to the top. When you consider how much money the Yankees spend, the Red Sox spend, and even now the Blue Jays, I just don't know. I mean, I just don't know. If they were in a different division like the AL West, possibly, more than likely. But just because they play in the East, I don't know.
Oh, shit. I got breaking news. Check this out, guys. Do you know why Pelosi went to Taiwan? Because she found out that the Chinese prime minister, what is his name, Jinping, or what's his name?
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping, Pong, whatever. He bet the Orioles under. So she went to Taiwan. I mean, wow, that's huge. I mean, I didn't know this thing went viral as far as me betting the Orioles. Now, look, I bet him last year and I lost. I bet a lot of things and I lose. I was having fun with this because a lot of people wanted to see me fail. And I remember we had a guy named Steve Sir, one of the top casino hosts on our podcast, Hardline. And he's writing it down. He goes, "What did you bet this?" He started shaking his head. No way. I got a text from the guy a couple of days ago. Looking pretty good. But that's the great thing. That's the great thing about I love prop bets. I got a prop bet for you on this one. Over under, not over under. Who do you, Hardline? We talk about the elections all the time, and of course, what we said last week. And I want to be like one of these shows that talks about last week and every day the same topic. I know right away, and people say talk about this. We know it's DeSantis and Trump in 2024. We know that unless something happens to Trump. On the Democratic side, I can't believe I'm hearing this because the guy had a conniption fit over this. The bill did. I'm hearing Bernie Sanders is thinking about running again. Give me an over under whether or not he puts those gloves on that he did and sits like an old man falling. He might have been in that video that we just showed on the Schmucks. How old is Bernie Sanders going to be, John Daly? I mean,
he's definitely in his 80s.
Yeah, they can't let this guy cannot run. That's got to be a rumor that I read on Instagram. That's got to be a fall up. What's it called? Fake news.
Yeah. Go ahead, Hardline. I'll give you my take after you finish.
I just think it's clickbait. I don't think that there's any way that Bernie's going to run again. I mean, he ran the last 2 cycles, and it unfortunately just didn't work out for him. I don't think so. I think if you're the Democrats, your idea is to get younger. I don't think that you want to get older, especially we've had Trump who was older, Biden who was older. I don't think the idea is to keep going up in age, like somebody that's betting prices right. I think the idea is to go a little bit younger and see what you can get. I think that their idea type of person would be somewhere late 40s to maybe mid 50s. I think that's maybe something that they're looking for.
I got a guy.
I mean, look, man, if Tommy Tuberville can run for senator, I wouldn't be surprised if that man decides to run for senator of Florida one day. I mean, they love him down there. Ask Stephen Ross. So we'll see.
So take your take on Sanders, and I want to jump in. Go ahead, John.
All right. So I think the odds are really low that Bernie Sanders would, just for the same reasons that Hardline was talking about, is that he's way too old. He's already failed. And then what we're seeing with Joe Biden, and even though a lot of Republicans don't believe this, a lot of people are running to the middle. And from the Republican Party to the middle and from the Democratic Party to the middle. You're beginning to see that change. Part of the thing is that we're not going to go to the left, and the Republicans have done a great job of saying anybody who's a Democrat is a communist, is a socialist. So they think it's going to be, Castro is going to be taking over, and we're going to have Cuba here. And they believe that. And a lot of people still believe that. And that's why you're seeing a lot of Hispanics actually go to the Republican Party. A lot of them are actually moving there because of their fear of Castro or Noriega or somebody like that. So I don't think it's going to happen. But you hit the nail on the head right there, Hardline, about younger. Remember when Bill Clinton ran? I mean, Bill Clinton was, he was in his late 40s, early 50s, I think, right, at the time. And he was energetic. So it was good. And that was a good thing in the 90s. I think the other thing is we're going to want somebody from the military. And I'm not saying because we want a military dictator, but we want somebody with order who can create, when you're in the military, it's you've got to go by instructions. You've got to have a regime. You've got to have, drills, things to do that you're going to carry out so that you win, and you're able to shift. In the middle of a war, it's not the plan that you make; it's the plan that you can shift to win the war. I think you're going to do that. That's why I think someone like Pete Buttigieg and I think Seth Moulton. He's a congressman from Massachusetts. I think you're going to see 2 of them. And there's actually, and I'm drawing a blank on her name. She's from Michigan, and she's a congresswoman, and she was in the military too. I think you're going to see people like that that are going to come out of it. I seriously don't think Biden's going to run. I don't think he's going to announce it or say anything until probably, March, April of next year or so, because that'll be a little year out. So that's kind of what what I'm thinking if I had to predict something that far out?
Right. I'm going stats. I'm going to play hardline for a second. I hear, and I just want facial reaction. I'm hearing there's a chance that Michelle Obama might try and run. No,
I don't think so.
If you want military, I got one for you, and then I got a couple stats for you. You just said something about a woman, a congresswoman in Michigan. Why doesn't Goldie Hawn run? Because she looked great in a uniform in Private Benjamin. Remember that? She was so good looking, and she's only 70. She's younger than these guys, that are running.
If that's the case,
I want John. Do it. I heard this that 64% of Hispanics voted for President Trump in the 2020 election.
Yeah,
I heard that 97% of African American women voted for Biden, but the African American men was kind of split down the middle. That's interesting. But 64% of Hispanics voted for Trump, and the Democratic Party has to figure out a way to get that demographic if they want to win. That's what my thought is. I mean, I'm thinking this. Let me ask you this. I open mind, hardline. If Joe Biden doesn't have Kamala Harris, if he has Amy Klobuchar or Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan as his running mate in 2020, does he win that election?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that they're seasoned enough. I don't think that it wins. And look, if we're going to talk numbers and be honest, I think that the Democratic Party has a group of people that they're probably going to definitely, especially with everything that happened with the abortion bill going, which are white women. I think that a lot of white women that they've got to start winning back over. I know a lot of white women did vote for Trump when he ran beforehand, and that number was still somewhat high. So I think, look, with the abortion
white
ban,
women at? They voted for Trump.
I mean, that's what it is, man. That's the Democratic slogan. Where are the white women at? Where the hell are they for our votes? And I think with everything that's happened with the abortion bill going on, I mean, I think that might push back into the Democrats' hand if they could find a way to take off the reins per se that the Republican Party now has on abortion laws.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I also think the reason why the Hispanic vote was high, especially Hispanic men, is because a lot of them are very tied into conservative Christianity, Catholicism. So it's kind of part of what they're indoctrinated with. What's interesting is that where the Democrats screwed up horribly in 2015 and 2016, they didn't realize Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin were all going to go for Trump because they felt they got left behind in the economy and everything was pulling out of there. Manufacturing was gone from there. They did the same thing with the Hispanics. They think the Hispanics were all under the same thing. Oh, they're all people who are new to the country and they're going to vote Democratic. No, that's not the case. And not only that, there's a lot of Hispanics here who have been here for 3 or 4 generations who are businessmen, who do really, really well, who are very wealthy. And they're going to side with Trump. They're not going to side with him because, I have a Spanish name. No. They're going to side with them because it's going to be for their special interest. So until the Democrats, and again, the Democrats sometimes do a horrible job of putting together their message to whoever they want. I think you're right, though, Hardline. I think, what we saw in Kansas with the women that came out in a red state and stopped that abortion amendment to the Constitution so that abortion rights would stay. That was a huge, huge victory. Is that going to last? Come November for the primaries? I don't know.
No. Indiana, red state, weren't they? What happened with the women there? They voted to.
They did vote it, but that was to be expected. But Kansas, but people came out and voted. In Indiana, it was the Republican-controlled legislature that did it. In Kansas, it was the women who came out to vote en masse, and there was like the percentage of women who registered to vote who hadn't voted was through the roof.
You guys agree with this? I think in 2016, I think Hillary Clinton ran the worst presidential campaign of anyone I've ever seen in my 61 years. You brought up Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, which are the Rust states. She lost all of them, and she campaigned for 16 days in California. And everyone's, what are you doing in California? Well, you had that one when you were nominated. And Trump spent 3 hours in California. I'm not giving Trump any credit for anything, but the reason why I know people that voted for Trump said to me, he ran his campaign like you ran a business, and you want a guy running your country like you run a business. And Hillary ran a horrible campaign where she was way more qualified than this guy to be president.
I mean, she did. I think the biggest thing is what the Democrats had to learn from that situation is do not take anything for granted, right? Like you're talking about a guy that was born and raised in Michigan. She came to Nevada a lot. She came to California a lot. Yeah. Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. The question always became, why is she not coming here? Trump's coming. I'm shaking hands with him. I'm seeing him. Well, I don't have to come there. They always vote blue. Well, guess what? When you don't go somewhere, you learn the lesson of it doesn't work that way. I think that whoever ran it, and look, I honestly believe even her vice presidential candidate pick was not the best. I think at some point, and this is just me being me, looking at everything, leading up to the election, I think that she knew that she was in trouble, and I think that she knew that she wasn't going to win. And so, look, again, look.
I disagree. I disagree with you. I think that Newsweek already had Madam President printed out on their magazines on the newsstand. They had to recant that. Obviously, I think she was in shock, and she went into shock after that because the 2016 election changed everything because you have a guy that never ever sat a day in politics, and that's why I think Goldie Hawn's got a chance in 2024.
But here's the thing, Fish. I think a lot of people and a lot of pollsters, even people we'll talk about CNN. I think they didn't think about the idea that maybe people would lie because they didn't know how to express themselves saying, I'm voting for Donald Trump, right? You're talking about a guy with no political background whatsoever. And that's the guy you're saying, I want to run the United States of America. How do I say that to somebody without being
What does that tell you? What does that tell you about Daily? What does that tell you in the few minutes that we have about the pulse of the nation, that they'd rather vote for a guy that has no political background? That shows you they can't stand the politics that are going on up to that point. That Bush,
and they felt that the elites, especially the Democrats, had let them down. I mean, when you look at, you look at all the jobs and the manufacturing that was out of that area, a lot of people didn't have anything. Now, at the same time, too, there were an awful lot of job trainings that were there that only 5% of the people took advantage of. So there's a little bit of a poor me, kind of the victim that those areas had, but I'll tell you right now, I was in Ohio because I was working for a company there, and I was there throughout 14, 15, 16. I never saw a Hillary sign. I saw Trump signs everywhere. Yeah. And that's when I said, there's something going on here that people don't know about. And it was very apparent. Yeah, it really was. So, but it was one of the worst campaigns ever run. And there's no way she should have lost. On the other hand, there were people who were kind of like, okay, well, we just had 8 years of Barack Obama. Okay, let's do something different. And 9 times out of 10, we usually, as a country, we usually go in the opposite direction. I don't think a lot of Republicans realized how bad Trump was going to be as far as an administrator or, a president, even though a lot of people agreed to some of the things.
I agree. But if the coronavirus doesn't happen and George Floyd doesn't happen, I think the coronavirus doesn't happen, Trump's still your president because economy, everything was going great. Do you agree?
I agree. If he told people to wear a mask, I think he would have stayed in. I think I agree. Yeah. I agree.
That was him.
Cool. All right. I think we're getting to the end here. Folks, thanks for being with us. Again, remember Daily Fish is live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5, plus the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Live. Catch us on YouTube and Wingding TV. We're also on Hey Vegas TV at heyvegastv.com. Remember, listen to us anytime on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. Write to us anytime. Dailyfish1, the number 1, dailyfish1 at gmail.com. All right, guys, good show. Covered a lot of stuff.
Good stuff. I want to, if you allow me, I'm going to try and do the voice. I won't be able to, but I want to end with this. This is the greatest line he ever said, this guy. I needed you more than you ever needed me.
Mm-hmm.
And rest in peace, buddy. You, wow.
Absolutely. To Vin. Thanks, Vin. And thanks to you guys, too.